Starting Monday, BC will be sending people who need radiation therapy across the border to the U.S. for treatments.
I just think, my God, when are we going to think about the crisis that our healthcare system is in? It's completely broken.
Leah Roundtree could be one of the nearly 5,000 people in BC who are expected to get their cancer treatments south of the border in the next 2 years. That will come at a high cost. BC's Ministry of Health says a round of 5 treatments per patient costs roughly $12,000 at private cancer centers in Bellington, Washington. That's compared to just over $3,800 in BC. We're joined this morning by Jason Sutherland, professor in the Centre for Health Services and Policy Research at the University of British Columbia. Welcome.
Good morning, Anne-Marie.
In 2020, 90% of patients who needed radiation got it within 28 days, within a month. So that number has dipped to under 83%. How did BC get to the point of leaving hundreds of people waiting for potentially life-saving cancer care for longer than a month?
Yeah, great question. I think there are possibly 2 factors involved here. And the first being, an aging population is contributing to more people potentially developing cancer later in life. The second factor can be a delayed access to screening, both for breast and prostate cancer, that occurred during COVID. So we're experiencing a short-term bump in the number of people being diagnosed with those cancers as well.
Sending Canadian patients across the border to the States for treatment isn't new. BC has done this before, as has Ontario and Quebec. But what does this say to you about the healthcare system?
I think it says a few things. One, from the patient's perspective and their families and caregivers, that it's a lot more inconvenient for them to travel further from home to get treatment in the United States, in Washington state. So that perspective is not great from the patients. Now, from the health system perspective, it's really showing that there's a lack of surge capacity and potentially even long-term capacity to handle homegrown demand for different kinds of cancer. This shows that there's potentially a lack of infrastructure, including physical space, new buildings, new diagnostic imaging, radiologists, technologists, to be able to manage the homegrown demand for cancer treatment and services.
How is BC paying for this cross-border care?
Well, certainly the cost associated with sending patients down in the United States is more expensive than being done here at home. However, from the family's perspective, they probably don't care too much, frankly, about the cost associated with their treatment. Mm-hmm. One can imagine, as many families have been touched by cancer, that they just want their family members to be treated as quickly as possible. Now, as part of the social contract between taxpayers and their governments, they believe that they are owed these services as quickly as possible, irrespective of the cost.
The keyword there being taxpayers. They're paying into a system that is now costing them more to treat them outside of the system. What needs to happen long-term to take care of Canadians in Canada?
Yeah, long-term, the governments need to be able to match supply versus demand in all sectors, not just cancer, although the cancer treatment is certainly a red flag for us to think carefully about whether or not we've built out the infrastructure necessary for our own residents. So I think long-term, a plan needs to be made to build out the cancer treatment centers, train the number of people in the universities and colleges that we need, and build out for the number of cases that we expect to have over time.
Jason Sutherland, thank you for this morning.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.